Thank you very much for sticking with us and not going away. My name is Lillian, and you're welcome to another Twitter space presented by the Lagos State Office of SDG, which is the Sustainable Development Goals and Investment in partnership with Africa Tech Radio. My name is Lillian, and welcome once again to this space. Of course, I'm not alone. We have various speakers that will be joining us today. Kelechi Achinonu, the Next Gen Fellow for Justice, United Nations Foundation. If you're here, please say hi.
Hello, Daria Sobele here, founder of ASADS, Anti-Suicide and Depression Squad.
Welcome to this space. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, my name is Andrew Lala. I'm the storytelling and marketing lead at Prunech. Good to be here.
Thank you for being AKA Silent Night.
More like silent noise maker, really.
Oh, I can just see Silent N. Oh, that is something. Silent noise maker. Thank you for joining us once more.
Hello, everyone. I am Okweyemi Agbelishe. I'm a human resource professional. I currently work as a human resource consultant for a number of companies in Lagos.
Thank you, Okweyemi, for joining us. And I can see Damola Johnson, Human Capital Development Expert.
Good day, everyone. I was just waiting for the rounds of introduction to go around all the speakers. Thank you so much for the invite. My name is Oyindamola Johnson. I work in the sectors of higher education, youth development, nonprofit management, and human capital development. It's a pleasure to be here today.
It is great having you on board. We're also expecting Teju Abishoye, Executive Secretary of LSETF, and Kelechi Achinonu, the Next Gen Fellow for Justice, United Nations Foundation.
Hi,
so we're just going to dive in. Oh, you are
Kelechi Achinonu, Next Gen Fellow for Justice, United Nations Foundation.
Okay, the Oluwa there threw me off. I thought it was Oluwa.
Okay.
Yeah, I cannot say fully. Let me fix that. Okay, thank you very much for joining us. Only one person is left, and I hope she can join us later. Like I said when I started, I said this is another Twitter space presented by the Lagos State Office of SDG. The Sustainable Development Goals, of course, also known as SDGs or Global Goals, was established by the United Nations in 2015, and these goals serve as a worldwide call to action to tackle poverty, to protect the environment, and show that everyone can enjoy peace and prosperity by the year 2030. Now, these SDGs acknowledge that what we do in one area can affect outcomes in other areas, and they highlight the importance of finding a balance between social, economic and environmental sustainability in order to promote development. Now, many countries and cities worldwide understand that this is really important. Meeting these goals are very important and are actually working towards them. Now, in Lagos State, the government has established the Office of the SDGs and Investment, also known as Lagos Global, and this office collaborates with other relevant government agencies to monitor and evaluate the results and impact of projects related to the SDGs. Now we're here to discuss the important topic, how can we strengthen community-based approaches to conflict resolution in Lagos? This is Goal 16 under the Peace, Justice and Strong Institutions. So I'm going to ask us different questions and we can jump in whenever we want to as well. Of course, we know that conflict is a natural part of human interaction, but it is crucial that we find peaceful ways to address and resolve disputes within our communities. And today we'll be exploring strategies that can help us foster a culture of peace, understanding and collaboration in Lagos. And let us just ask this question. What can you say are the root causes of conflict in Lagos? Can you help us, Andrew Lala? I'll just be calling you Andrew.
Oh yeah, Andrew is good. Andrew is actually good. So thank you for that. Thank you for the question. Yeah, talking about addressing root causes of conflict in Lagos. Firstly, I'd like to say that root causes of conflict can quite be multifaceted. Yeah, but I would like to focus more on economic issues like poverty, job access to quality education and social welfare programs. I think promoting this would help to curb conflicts in Lagos State because, like people say, the idle man is the devil's workshop. Yeah, and when there is no, when you are not active, you tend to get involved in something else. I think if we promote this, promote social inclusion and tackle discrimination at this ends, you can achieve some sort of awareness or sensitization, as the case may be, and that could also help with conflict to just carry out root causes of conflicts in Lagos.
All right. Can I just add to what has been shared already? Like he rightly said, the root causes of conflict is it's multifaceted, but I just want to look at it from two angles, which is socioeconomic disparities. So you're talking about economic inequality, poverty, social exclusion. All this could lead to and contribute to social unrest and conflict. So that's one thing, socioeconomic disparities. And looking at Lagos State, looking at the population, the diversity that we have, the imbalance that we have in terms of economic opportunities, that could be a trigger for conflict. Another thing, another root cause that we could look at is power imbalances. So this could be inequalities in power, whether political, economic, social. This could, if this is not managed well, it could lead to tension and conflict. It's also important to understand the unique position that Lagos holds, not just in the country, but across the continent. I see Lagos as a country. There are several African countries that if you put the entire population in Lagos alone, Lagos will swallow up to 10, 15 countries in Africa all at once, So it's important that we understand the peculiarities and the challenges as well as the opportunities that the state possesses. So like I said, socioeconomic disparities and power imbalances could serve as a trigger or could result in conflict if not managed well and effectively.
Any other thoughts? Okay, from what has been said, how can community-based approaches effectively address these root causes that we have mentioned in Lagos? How can that happen? Kelechi.
Okay, so thank you. I mean, so to be honest, right, we would need to invest in early warning systems if that was possible, and conflict monitoring if that was also possible, just to identify potential flashpoints and trigger preventive measures. So, what do I mean by this? When we talk about conflict prevention, we first of all even need to understand what are the various types of conflict that we're dealing with in Lagos. The two early speakers spoke about poverty, which is normal. There's also insecurity. I mean, the people that get kidnapped in Lagos, maybe people don't know about this. There are accidents that are going on. There are still robbery in certain areas across Lagos. So, in terms of talking about effective approaches, is also to have dialogues like this. Can we facilitate dialogue and mediation processes to resolve some of these conflicts peacefully and address grievances? You have issues with landlords and tenants, increasing rent and all of those things. People rather go to the courts. You also have situations where another effective approach could be promoting community-based reconciliation initiative that encourage that people come and dialogue. So it's not every time you need to go to court, or just come to someone's house, have conversations regarding the respective conflict that is happening. I think another approach that is also very important is strengthening the legal framework and institutions to ensure access to justice, especially speedy justice. I'm also a lawyer, right? And I know that we also have some lawyers here. We know how the court system can take time. It's very easy now for people to just say, if you have any issue, go to court. And one of the reasons why people say go to court is when you go to court, it takes a while for your cases to be processed. God forbid, the person that is even in the case could even end up dying and all of those things. And I think one last approach would be empowering local peaceful building organizations that can work directly with communities that are also affected, which is why I'm happy to be part of this conversation. Are there non-for-profits that are doing stuff to bring about peace that one can work with especially when the government cannot go directly to communities where these conflicts are all about. So I also think we also need to be clear as to what are we calling conflict, so that there's no confusion. Because when you say conflict, it's disagreement between two people or more. So I think we need to be able to streamline that. So yeah, that's just it for me.
Wow, that was actually great. Kelechi, do you have anything to add?
Just adding up to what he said, yeah, one would be getting data, right? Because I feel like I know that we all know that there are issues, there are conflicts, but the thing is, as much as we do we have data that sort of like backs all this? And by data, I don't mean the fact that something happened today in a particular place and nothing happened somewhere else. It's like consistent data that shows that yes, in so it's Lagos and Yanapaja, for instance. This is the most common conflict or most common issue that we have here. How can we address this? In Surulere, this is like the issue that we have. How can we address it? What can be done to address it? Right. So I think that one thing is one, getting data or getting evidence, and because that's something that people that are developing policies or leaders developing policies, developing frameworks can reference or can leverage to create things. So you don't just create things based on whatever we think is, but what is that has actually shown to be. Then I think also having these kind of conversations, but not just one that is like empty talk in that sense, as I would like to call it, but one that is really actionable and like doubles down to whatever reality there is that people are experiencing. So there's something we call for justice. It's people-centered justice, right? So it's just I would say for whatever conflicts, whatever issues, whatever justice problems that people are experiencing in VI, for instance, or in Surulere, have conversations that really reflects the reality of people in that area, right? You don't want to. Lagos is big, yes. You don't want to talk about issues prevalent in Surulere. I'm talking about them. Talking about addressing them in VI, right? So if we're trying to segment Lagos in solving this kind of problems, ensure that this kind of conversations or policies or stakeholder dialogues are things that actually reflect the reality of the people that we're trying to help. Thank you.
Oh, that was. So you're saying that communities should now take it upon themselves to project whatever it is that's happening in their communities, so that the data that is needed to escalate the matter would not be, lost or hidden.
Yes, I think so. I think so. Of course, with the help of the government or with certain parastatals, yes, but yes, we should go down to the community level. So each community, or depending on how much we want to segment Lagos, community or communities come together to really double down on what exactly is our issue in this community. Is it kidnapping? Is it theft? Is it landlord tenant issue? Is that the most prevalent? Because as much as we all want to be superheroes, which is good, we can't solve all problems, right? So it's like, what is the most prevalent or common problem that we can solve right now that would help people feel safe? Or we help people access their rights more, or we help people trust the system more. What's that problem? So it's like saying if you had just one resource in the whole world to solve just one problem out of the amount of problems we have, what is that one problem that we are going to solve that has the most impact? Let us double down on that, measure over a period of time, maybe 2 years, I don't know, maybe 3 years, depending, or maybe a year. Double down on that. Try to solve that with certain kinds of framework, partnership, stakeholder conversations, whatever it is, and come back again in 1 year. Are we solving this problem the way it should be solved? Or has something else come up that is now more important? What happened to what we tried to do before? Is this process working or not? If it isn't, ideate, go again, figure out how to solve the problem. Because at this point, as much as we're waiting for those up there, like we'll call them, to solve problem, it has to be from the bottom up. So going down with communities, what's going on, finding out, and then escalating that to the government or whoever is in the capacity to solve the problem on the higher level.
All right. Thank you very much, Kelechi. In recent times, when you talk about traditional rulers, a couple of youngins will say that they don't see the need for traditional rulers because, the world is evolving. But a lot of people disagree. So I'm asking, how can traditional leaders come in? Traditional leaders, cultural institutions, can they come in to, be involved in community-based conflict resolution process or processes?
Can I just quickly
Oh,
respond to that? I was going to follow. I was going to follow up on the thoughts that the previous speakers shared, and I think my response is in line to your question now, which is how do we recognize, traditional institutions and their role in terms of conflict resolution? It's important to understand that conflict is as old as man's existence on Earth. So while we have systems, processes, structures, formal structures in place now that we have to resolve conflicts, it's something that has been in place for a very long time. And the question we need to ask ourselves is, how was conflict resolved 50 years ago, 100 years ago, 500 years ago? We need to understand the importance of local knowledge, of local institutions. And not just recognizing them, they need to be, those knowledge needs to be coded. Those knowledge needs to be incorporated in our new thoughts, in our new thinking, as it relates to addressing conflict. We also need to understand that traditional institutions, community-based organizations, they are the closest to the ground. They feel the pulse more. They live in these communities. They know the people. They know the root causes. Sometimes they are even, part of those who are affected by this crisis. So they are closest to the ground, and they have. In most cases, they have proven solutions, proven ways in addressing these things. So we need to understand the importance, just to wrap up so that other speakers can add their thoughts. We need to understand the importance of local institutions. We need to understand the role that they play. We need to understand that they live within these communities, they're embedded in these communities, they understand the root cause, they are closest to the ground, and we need to find a way to ensure that the knowledge in these traditional institutions are coded into our frameworks today. That they are not just discarded as, these were things that were done in the past. This is the new way of doing things now. I think it's very important. And to just add one more thing, it is also important that we create platforms for knowledge sharing and learning. So, in terms of creating communities of practice to ensure that people are not working in silos. These traditional institutions, they are not addressing things as it relates to their sectors alone. We're able to bring together this knowledge and we're able to make it work for the people of Lagos today. So, that is just a few thoughts that I want to share.
You just spoke about community-based share. You said knowledge sharing, and on our previous Twitter spaces, at the end of the day, we all agree that awareness and education, play vital roles in achieving the SDGs. So now, look, I'm not going to ask you whether or not they play vital roles again, no, because I know they do. But what I'm going to be asking right now is, what kind of approach when it comes to awareness and education? What approach should communities and states take in promoting peace and preventing conflicts? Can you help us out, Kwemi?
All right, thank you. It's been an insightful conversation so far, I should say. I think that, riding on the heels of what some of the speakers have said about the need for, I'll just say the need for representation. I was going to I was going to mention that when I think it was Mr. Indamala that spoke. I hope I got that name right. And he spoke about traditional institutions and the involvement in the issues or conflict causes in these communities. I think that when we speak about awareness and education, it's an informal approach, of course, informal approaches to education and awareness. Let's have community gatherings. Let's empower traditional leaders to engage more within their local communities. I do not know if we have structures like that. I don't think that traditional institutions are as empowered as they should be, right, to create certain solutions within their communities, because then again, issues vary from community to community. Like Kelechi said earlier, what might be plaguing Suliri may not be plaguing Ogba at the moment. So I think that the best way to adopt this would not be a general approach to it first, but a more personalized approach or specialized approach, and it should involve um, we should carry along the key stakeholders, that is the people themselves in these areas, right? A lot of times we have a way of glossing over a community, just analyze it on the face of it and just say, okay, these people are underserved, they have this issue, let us just come in, and without necessarily hearing back from them, getting feedback, addressing and speaking to the exact issues that plague them. So I feel like more avenues for speaking, right? More engagement, not just talking at them. Or when we say awareness and education, a lot of times we're talking at them, empowering them in that sense, but more of hearing from them, hearing what solutions they think that would work for them, and then fine tuning it and then supporting them to achieve it. I think that one strategy is to let them help them solve their problem, or let them solve their problems, but empower them to do so. So I think that approach always works. They feel more involved, they feel responsible, right, for upholding the solution and driving it, sustainably down through generations and all of that. So I think yes, that is a strategy that will work. Representation, adequate representation of these people who are plagued with these issues in the education and awareness and all of that. Yeah. Thank you.
That was great. Thank you very much, Opemi. Any other thoughts on Damola?
So, I mean, just to add to it, right? I think another approach could be creating like some sort of mentorship and leadership program, just to encourage, active involvement with marginalized individuals and peace building initiative. Because a lot of issues we see right now in the political space stems from the family. You have situations where people were giving birth to in very funny circumstances. A lot of people would love to listen to some of these conversations that we're having right now, but they don't have access to like a phone. Some of them are doing drugs, doing all kinds of things. So having a system where people can have mentorship, can we have more organizations? I'm also speaking to founders here where we can go to communities. You have communities like organizations like Chess and Slum, mentor these children. Can we also support establishments that are already created to help people in these communities where issues are? Can we also provide capacity building programs just to train and empower marginalized community members? You see, for example, people we call agberos. Can we be able to sensitize them so they know the value of their lives? I mean, if someone is breaking bottle and choking themselves, and you're thinking you can speak English with that person is telling you that they don't value their life. So why should they listen to you? Right? But we need to be able to speak to these people in their own language so that these people can be trained. And I feel like that's where it starts, so that they understand that they are also humans. So yeah, that's just my addition to the conversation. Yeah.
Thank you so much to all those the speakers regarding the thoughts that they've shared. I just quickly want to add something, which is it is important that we have systems and mechanisms in place to for early warning and response systems, because of course before a matter degenerates into full blown crisis, it starts small, and then when we have this community based organizations, like we said, that are embedded within communities, if they are empowered, if we are very deliberate about capacity building in terms of ensuring that they can detect, there's early warning and response system processes in place. It can help to monitor potential conflicts, identify warning signs, and then help in providing targeted interventions and solutions. So that is one area that I would add: early warning and response systems. The other part that I'm going to add is in terms of understanding, part of the root cause of conflicts, is inequality within our communities, within our society. So government also needs to play a role. They need to also look inward to say how are we directly or indirectly contributing, to issues which could potentially lead to crisis. So once we begin to look into that, all stakeholders, including government, when they begin to look into bridging the gap, the socioeconomic gap that we have within the state, we can begin to progressively move towards a society where there's less conflict.
Those are great points. Darius said that it is important to empower the people in these communities so that at least, if like you said, that in an idle mind, the devil's workshop. And Okwemi said, allow them express themselves. Don't talk at them. Speak with them and let them. It will create a safe space for them to express their opinions. And when they start talking, then you will know the exact cause. Just like when two people are quarreling and they're refusing to tell you what's the problem. Then when you start getting them to talk, you would get the real problem behind that quarrel. So yes, that works. And Oyindamola said, early warning and response. I think the problem in many parts of the world is that we allow things to deteriorate first before we start working. We don't tackle things in the beginning. We allow it to rot, and then when it rots, we cannot repair. We have to rebuild, which is more expensive, and that's what happens in major many sectors, not just for tangible things, but for intangible things as well. So that is amazing. And then you talked about engaging. Um, community-based organizations and stuff like that. But what I want to know now is, what kind of partnerships and collaborations are needed to enhance conflict resolution efforts in Lagos? What kind? Is the government should they be looking at civil society organizations and people who are willing to take on this? You
Um,
can help us, Kelechi.
but
Yeah.
yeah, okay. So I can think I'll just go first and say everyone should be at the table, right? Every kind of representation, every organization that needs to be represented should be represented or should be involved in this kind of partnership. So whether it's civil societies, whether it's the court, whether it's the community, even if it's people, representatives of people that are marginalized in the community, people that are vulnerable, women, men, children, young people, everyone should be involved in the conversations. Like thinking about how, so we're looking to, back to what I said earlier, looking to find out what's the most common justice issue or justice problem in a particular community. So it's like thinking about the framework. So from identifying the problem, from getting data, from having conversations, from to what should be the ideating on the solution to implementing the solution. So if you're having like a roadmap on exactly what it is, from discovering the problem or problem identification to solving the problem, everyone that would at one point or the other play a role in that roadmap should be involved from the beginning to the end, because you don't want to bring someone. I don't have like so much context as to how this kind of framework could be, but you don't want to bring someone that should solve the problem when you want to solve the problem without them understanding how the problem was first identified in the first place, because that's like there's going to be distorted information. No matter how much you try to document, someone is going to miss out on something, and it would definitely stall progress on what is being done, or everyone just goes back to start all over again. So it's like everyone that should be involved in a partnership should be involved in all the stages, whether you're bringing them to be fully committed or fully involved or passively committed. As long as when we are talking about the problem, we are brainstorming, when we are having conversations with the community on, oh, you're having a conversation with, like, I don't know, a community in Lagos. What's the issue going on? What exactly is your problem with the community? What would you like to be solved? Representatives of this organization should be there, of the stakeholders should be there, just listening actively or passively. At least they are just there to witness, because there is something when people are involved in seeing how people feel their problem, how people are expressing their problems. So imagine a town hall meeting where people are talking. It's easier if you have different organizations come together and they are hearing the people themselves telling you how much they're experiencing theft or crime. You can see the pain, you can see everything on their faces, so you can relate. That would be different from having a second term report where it's a participant in that kind of town hall that's going to go and report to the higher ups, right? Because the emotion is not there, so it just look like you're just reporting, and you cannot carry that emotion as well. But when people are there to experience that, you will now see how we'll be different when we are trying to brainstorm on solutions, because we've seen the pain, we've heard the pain, we've seen their tears. It would be a motivation to actually solving this problem for people. But when it's just all documentation and emails and all that, and talk here and there and conferences and all that, the solution will just be stalling left and right. So I think that everyone should be involved from every step in the roadmap, from beginning to the end. Every organization that is identified should be involved. Thank you.
Wow, that was amazing. So I had a conversation with a lady one time. She was among, a group that did a great cause. It was amazing. I said, have you considered reaching out to this ministry or this, the government? And she said that it is easier to get support from international organizations before you get support from Nigerian ministries, departments, and agencies. And that was really heartbreaking. Because how will it be easier for a Nigerian to get international support for a great cause for Nigeria than for Nigerian MDAs to, even be interested in it in the first place? And that needs to be, it needs to be corrected. It is really terrible. Does anybody have any other person have any other thoughts on this? If I move on to the next.
To be
Okay, no.
honest, right,
Yeah.
I agree with that thought process. Because it's just, I mean, I think it's even in the Bible now. A prophet is not recognized in his own hometown. A lot of people are trying to do stuff, and the way it is if you are not known, people cannot respect you. In terms of doing that, I think I will stop there so that other people can just give their own perspective. So I know that Okoyemi or Inda wanted to say something.
Thank you so much. I totally agree with some of the sentiments shared. But if we look at it critically, we need to understand that if we look at the context back home, right? So we're saying that organizations, individuals really don't get support from home. That people outside the country, it's like they're more keen to invest in issues surrounding conflict and peace building and all that. The first thing we need to realize is that everybody is a victim of this situation back home. Even those who feel that they are shielded from the day-to-day realities of the common man, everyone is a victim, because even the person who feels that he is protected is almost like a prisoner in his own home. You're not free to move about, you're not free to live your life, or to the full. So everyone in some way is a victim of this situation. Another thing that I also need to point out is that sometimes it gets to a stage in which you get desensitized to issues like this, because they become like a daily reality. So it really becomes nothing. But we need to understand that in some cases, organizations, individuals outside, they do not have these issues as their day-to-day realities. So sometimes it's easier for them to to feel the pain, to identify, to acknowledge, and to want to help. But for someone who lives, breathes that situation day in, day out, you get to a stage in which you just get desensitized to it. I do not want to see it that individuals, organizations back home are not interested in supporting. I think that their priorities are just in other places. But we also need to understand that the bedrock of development, the bedrock for peace, the bedrock for growth that we all seek and desire rest on peace. If there's conflict, I don't even think any of us would be on this space today. We'll be busy trying to save ourselves and our families and all that. So that's just some of the few thoughts that come to mind when it comes to this topic that we're talking about.
Many thanks. Opeyemi, you want to say something?
Yes, I just wanted to say that, so Indama already took the words right off my mouth. These people who sort of hinder, or who people have complained, organizations have complained, sort of hinder or do not support the initiatives that they come up with, are also victims of the society. They are also in some way going through or have experienced a certain or have been exposed to certain experiences, right, that would cramp that. I don't know if I'm making sense. So basically I'm saying that everyone is a victim of, to an extent, a victim of society. So someone, for instance, who, okay, I walk up to the Ministry of Health or whatever, I have this thing I want to do, this initiative, and I walk up to the Ministry of Health and I look at the secretary, and the secretary says, oh, I can't see the whoever is in charge, I need to bribe her or something. Bringing that into context, the secretary would not say that if she hadn't been a victim of, say, poverty, or if she hadn't had a hard time. Poverty comes into play here. I hope you see where I'm going with this. And I think that in some way, at every level, there is some form of resistance that we would encounter while trying to, support, bring help to our neighborhoods and communities. For instance, on all levels, even with the people we're trying to help in that sense. So I remember someone was telling me some time back, I think they were trying to work on Ibafo. There's somewhere in Mowe that they were trying to fix the road. That's the stated name. They're trying to fix the road, and the guys who were the construction workers were already set to work, and the residents, the youth of that community said, no, don't work on this road. You have to pay us before you create a road. Like, I'm trying to help you here create, I'm trying to make things easy for you, make movement easy for you, right? Now we can come up with various reasons why maybe they weren't involved at first, but that's the kind of resistance that we would face at different levels. I think that it is normal to have some form of resistance. I mean, it's common, it's particular with life in general. But to say that they do not support, I do not think that all parastatals or local organizations, local government institutions would not support, some of the initiatives we're bringing. So that's just what I wanted to say.
Yeah, I've heard something similar to this thing you just said. A wealthy man noticed that a certain community didn't have light and arranged to bring a transformer to that community. And they brought it, they were ready to install it. The men of the land said, no, they have to pay them. They have to pay you before I give you light. So he took the transformer to another community. And that community will continue blaming the government for the lack of, electricity. But they have a role to play too. So that is a thing that happens in many parts of the country. I don't know why, but you've mentioned that poverty and some other reasons can be, a cause. But let's not go into justice. Sometimes many of these people who create chaos in certain parts of Nigeria, if you ask them why they are doing, they'll tell you that, or why they're not saying anything, why they are, enabling it. They'll tell you that they don't have access to justice like the elite do. So, and it is already certain, we know it is a fact that there are underserved communities who do not access justice in Lagos, in Nigeria. So, what are the main barriers, preventing those underserved communities from accessing justice, and how can they be overcome? Do you want to help out, Kelechi?
So I mean, what prevents you from accessing justice? Knowledge. That's one. Distrust in the system. So yeah, there's like a advocacy or a request that people know their rights. So I don't know if you've experienced this, but in my work with Hill, and as well as like working with social entrepreneurs and trying to talk to people that are solving problems, like if you go to a market woman, for instance, right now, and maybe she just experienced a wrong, and you ask her, to go report to the police or go to court, you will not get an enthusiastic or optimistic response to that. Like, oh yeah, she believes that she can go to court to right her wrong. It's like she would just prefer to hand it over to God or whatever means she trusts in. So I think that one is a distrust in the system, in the justice system, something that prevents you from access to justice. Because I mean, we say that I'm a lawyer by profession, and then we say that the court is overwhelmed with cases. There can be a situation where a man can start initiate a court process or a case in court, and who will hand that case to his other kid, to his grandchild. So it just keeps going on and on like that. So I think that people need a reason to trust the system. Two, people need to, one other issue is knowledge of their rights, right? So knowing that this is exactly, if this happens to me right now, it's wrong for it to happen to me. It is my right to insist that my phone is not searched on the road. It is my right to this is a process in place when I experience theft or I experience kidnapping or something like that. So I think one is knowledge. Two is the distrust in the system. And I'll keep it at that and let the other speakers contribute to the conversation. Thank you.
I'm going
Okay,
to contribute.
just to
I
add
want
to
to
this,
contribute.
right, there's also insufficient legal awareness, knowledge in undeserved communities. They are not aware about the laws. Most people don't even know the laws, right? There's also high costs and limited resources. So, what that means is that for us to solve this issue, we need to see how we can maybe get law firms to have pro bono services for members of the community. Can we establish legal aid programs for some of these communities? Most of them cannot fight. So you have situations where the rich are oppressing the poor, because not everyone can afford to pay for a lawyer or pay for their services. You also have corruption and lack of accountability, just like the earlier speaker spoke about. where people maybe want to do something, but because you don't have money, you can't get it done, or you're not willing to bribe your way. Then you also have the cultural and language barrier. So I mean, on this call, we're all speaking Yoruba. I mean, so we're speaking English, but Yoruba is like the most common language in Lagos. So when you're communicating and someone doesn't understand what you're saying, it's also an issue. It's also a barrier in terms of, you're saying something, but the person doesn't understand you as well. So yeah, those are just some of the barriers.
This morning, I this is very was really timely. I was on my way to the office and I saw a police checkpoint and they were searching this young man's bag. And all I could hear him shout was, "I know my right. You're not supposed to search my bag." That the DPO even said this, that you're not supposed to search my bag or personal effects. He was screaming at the top of his lungs, but what? They kept searching. So Kelechi said, "No, you're right." And uh, the other speaker, Dari, said almost the same thing, right? But then a lot of people know they're right, but they're still exploited and justice is not served. Just 2 days ago, I was told about a man who was almost like was poisoned. His wife and his daughter, the little baby, were poisoned by their living house help. They took the case to the police, and the police turned the whole thing and said, "I wanted to extort the man who came to report." So this just shines a light on what you said about having no face in the system.
Yeah, so I just want to add that as much as possible, you can't rule out that there'll be bad eggs in every organization or every parastatal or every setup, right? There will always be that. The hope is that the good eggs are better than the or are more than the bad eggs, right? And yes, coming back to knowledge, and yes, a distrust in the system itself. Then there was a mention of corruption as well. Then I think that the kind of system that we have in the first place, does it reward good behavior, for lack of a better way of describing it, and punish bad behavior, right? So in this case now, where the scenario you just gave, if the police officer is reported, would he be punished for such an act to serve as an example to other police officers so they won't do that? So there's also like a check that needs to be done on the system that is created itself. Does it reward good behavior? The man in the same scenario reports the case to the police, does he get justice in that sense, so that the person that did the wrong to him is actually punished? That is also an issue that we have. So like the systematic structures that we have in place, what kind of things do they reward? I make bold to say that here in Nigeria, and please correct me if I'm wrong, it's like I see a situation where bad behavior is more rewarded than good behavior. It's like, yeah, bad behavior has more PR than even good behavior. So I think that there are good eggs, but it's just that, or in every organization there are good eggs, it's just that they are few, and it just feels like the work that they do doesn't carry as much influence as the bad ones. And in that case, it just feels like the whole system itself is corrupted. I'm saying that because I think that even for us on this call, I would say that we are the good eggs, and as much as we are really few, for the fact that you exist in that sense, it means there are people like you, one way or the other. It's just hoping that there are more people like you in every organization, so that the chain of the good chain gets longer and longer, and grows, has more influence. Thank you.
So I
Thank
was
you,
gonna
Ben. Go
add more
ahead.
to say in addition to what was said. I think that you mentioned people. So these people know their rights, but they're still being trampled on, and there's no solution as it were to that. So I think that one thing we need to really relook is the accessibility of our justice system, the accessibility and the speed, right, of delivery. I know that one thing that has plagued our justice system a lot is the delay in the process, right? Lots of cases piling up in court, that sort of thing. So I think that we need to relook our justice system. How can we simplify this? How can we make it easily accessible? How can people get quicker justice in that sense, right? And then on the other hand, how can Lagos publicize this? Kelechi mentioned that it would seem that it would seem like there's PR for negative stuff than there is for the good things out there. So I think that we should focus that if we give attention to these areas, we just might see improvement. A lot of times people's rights are trampled on, and you'd ask them, okay, pursue this thing now and get a lawyer or do this, and they're like, well, I don't want to, let me just move on, and people just keep moving on, and these things keep happening over and over and again. And, there's a riot and everybody complains, and then everything's back to normal in the end. But if we can look at establishing accessible and quicker justice systems, I think that to go a long way. And then Lagos promoting that, of course, there has to now be like massive PR done for that, massive awareness done for whatever systems or solutions we come up with. Yeah, I just wanted to chip that in here.
Thank you, Kwemi. Let's now, I don't want to, take much of our time, but I know that there are lawyers in the house. Shout out to you. So are there specific legislative changes or reforms that could strengthen, this community-based conflict resolution mechanisms? Is there something that the Lagos state government should, do in terms of, shaking up their legislation?
So allow me just to talk because I have to go somewhere soon. To be honest, I think this is a good conversation. Just based on what Oluwakemi said earlier, right? We need to have town hall meetings. We need to be able to speak directly with the stakeholders. There's something about I can't be. I'm not the one that has a headache, right? I can't be speaking about what is paining other people. So we need to have more town hall conversations. Let's know the needs of people. Let's have a system of monitoring and evaluation. Like, okay, if we are done talking and saying these things we want to say now, is there going to be an implementation? Who is going to carry it out? We need funding, right? You're going to have to fund people that are going to this community. I think the best approach is train the trainer. What am I saying? Instead of us just going there alone, can we come up with a system where we go to these communities, train members of the community to also be able to train other members of their community so that there can be a system where we're passing it forward, right? So can we have funding for these programs, have trainings, encourage partnerships so that we can have, for example, now, if we're going to a particular community, are there non-for-profits that go there? Are there already existing organizations? Can we see how we can get communities to also support this initiative where we can have sensible conversations with them? It's our state, right? Most times people just have this mentality that, oh, I'll be long gone before anything happens, so I don't need to worry about it. Not everyone has the mindset of fixing problems before they even happen, right? It's very easy for everybody to ignore stuff. But if we do this thing right now, it begins to shift the mindset. Can we also see how we can even get ambassadors of this community so that they can be their spokesperson? Based on my experience in the last 10 years of working in the humanitarian space, most times when I go to communities with my non-for-profit or team members and we want to help a community, you have the area boys disturbing us, asking us for money. We want to come and help you, yet you are asking us for money, you are disturbing us. It's just really discouraging most time because they have this mindset, thinking that maybe we're from the government and all of those things. They don't know that we're non-governmental organization and all. So there's a mindset that people have, basically. So we need to be able to have these programs. I mean, based on what the other speakers are going to speak about. Okay, when do we want to start implementing these programs, this event? How do we get people to also participate and hold ourselves accountable? Can we give a monthly report? Even talk about it on social media. We went to social community. These were the programs that we did. These were the new set of people that we trained. This is what and what they're going to do for the next 6 months, the next 1 month, so that we don't just talk about it and the problem keeps lingering and lingering, basically. So yeah.
That's a great point. What about on legislative changes? Is there anything that can be, shuffled up to accommodate community-based resolution, conflict resolution? Sorry, still to you.
Yeah, so I mean, we need policies, right? We need to see how we can have better policies that support communities. Can we also see how we can have members of the either National Assembly or the State House of Assembly see how they can also support, um, can we create mechanisms to have in such a way that we can have less conflict? Don't forget, my initial question at the beginning was being able to define what is conflict. There are different kinds of conflict. When we say Lagos, it's not about being rich or poor. Everyone living in Lagos, are they also going to benefit? During the last election, you have people having the mindset that, Lagos is, I mean, we have a lot of people living here. So we need to be able to, people need to know that so far you're in Lagos, you're entitled to certain things and all of those things. And these are the benefits, right? So I think there just needs to be more PR, social media PR, billboards that lets people know that, oh, whether or not you are here, you are part of this community, you benefit from this community. And so, yeah, I just think that just needs to happen. Yeah, if things are going to work.
All right, thank you very much for that. Okay, now let's talk about, final points, because we have shed a light on different aspects of this, on ways that we can foster conflict resolution. And we even talked about how the government should be proactive and, just don't just select a certain aspect to tackle, but tackle the ones that are really, problem. Because a lot of times you say that the elites will say, just like when they say that the cow was being begged by the chicken to save it because it was being slaughtered. But the cow said, well, that is your problem, until other smaller animals finished and they had to now slaughter the cow. They're saying pigeon, everybody go collect. It depends, the magnitude of that collecting will then differ. So, from what we have said so far, strengthening community based conflict resolution in Lagos is a collective effort. Kelechi said that everybody should be involved from top to bottom, from the identification of the cause to the solution aspect. Everybody, CSOs, government, and everybody. So it is a collective effort that involves various people, organizations, and we need to tackle that root cause of conflict like poverty, inequality, discrimination, insecurity, amongst others, by engaging the community and empowering them. Using the people in the community. Do not underestimate the power of grassroots. Also, education and awareness programs are important in preventing conflicts and promoting peace. And we must ensure that marginalized groups like women and youth and ethnic minorities have a say in conflict resolution. Also, we can use technology to, like you said, PR, promote these points through technology. It can help in providing legal information, telling people about their rights and where to go to when they feel like they're marginalized. And to overcome barriers, we need specific policies and initiatives that make the justice system more accountable and transparent. And we should learn from successful communities. There are so many people who have already, achieved a certain level of management of this community conflicts. So, and also train the trainer. I don't know. In Nigeria, a lot of times, just like a fresh government will come in, they would leave every project that was started by the previous government and just continue like that without, just they don't even continue. They start their own projects, which leaves a lot of half projects all over the place. So the same way, any organization, any CSO, any non-for-profit organization who wants to foster peace can look at the workbook of those that have tried before them. Don't just go and start afresh. Have jobs to be left there. Is there any other thing that we have? Any points I want to draw before we wrap up? I'm asking you, Oindamola.
All right, thank you so much. To just wrap up, while it's important to know your rights, it's also essential to have strong systems that would protect that right. Because if the knowledge is there, but you don't have strong institutions to protect it, then it really doesn't make any sense. So I think this is an area that Lagos can begin to show leadership in ensuring that it becomes like an exemplary state to others in terms of having strong institutions that not only helps in letting citizens know what their rights are, but also ensuring that those rights are protected. And by the time, for example, the young man who was being searched, who was saying, "I know my rights, you cannot do this," but the policemen still continued doing what they wanted to do. If we had strong systems and strong institutions in place, it will be able to serve as checks and balances to excesses that some people might be prone to do. So, very important knowledge of your rights, but also having strong institutions to protect these rights. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Oindamola Johnson, who is the Human Capital Development expert, author, and convener, Elevate Your Game. What about Shokwemi, human resource professional? Do you have any thoughts to round up?
Okay, no, I do not. All that needs to be said has been said. I am very particular, as I always am, about the implementation and enforcement. What's the outcome of all that we've talked about? So I'm looking forward to seeing actual changes, and actual initiatives birthed from these conversations that we're having. That's it for me.
Thank you very much. Kelechi Achinono, Next Gen Fellow for Justice, United Nations Foundation. Any thoughts before we go?
So I think everything has been said. Actually, I think it would just be we carrying on the conversation from here because, as much as possible, I feel like in our own little sphere of influence or communities, we have some level of influence. Just nudging people, right? Just promoting, I don't know, conflict resolution mechanisms, promoting access to justice, educating one person at a time, something or one thing or the other. But I think it's just figuring out how, in a little sphere of influence, we can impact or keep impacting actually people's lives and trusting and nudging them to, have access to justice or trust the system one way or the other. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Somebody requested to speak. Mushi to the world. Do you have anything to say? All right, then. Ultimately, our goal is to create a peaceful and thriving Lagos where everyone has a voice and disputes are resolved peacefully. So let's work together to prioritize community based approaches that ensure that everyone is included in building a just and peaceful society. This is, of course, we'll be talking about how we can strengthen community based approaches to conflict resolution. And it's brought to you by Lagos State SDG Sustainable Development Goals in partnership with Africa Tech Radio. My name is Lillian Aberika, and I sincerely thank you, speakers, for joining us and staying till now. I'm talking about Kelechi Achinono, Next Gen Fellow for Justice, United Nations Foundation, Andrew Lala, I don't know, sorry, Lala, Storytelling and Marketing Lead, Prunech, Okwemi Agbeleshe, I'm sorry for murdering these names, Human Resource Professional, Dari, founder Anti-Suicide Depression and Squad, and Windamola Johnson, Human Capital Development Expert, author and convener, Elevate Your Game. And please follow each other, follow Africa Tech Radio, follow Lagos State SDGs, and follow each other because you have been amazing today and you have told us about your comments and insights have been fantastic. Thank you very much to those who have been listening. And next Friday, same time, we'll have the last space. Have a very wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you,
Thank you very
everyone.
much.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye,
Yeah.
everyone.
Bye.
Africa Tech Radio.